Hey guys, thank you for tuning in today. You're watching the Cessna154 channel, which is home to hundreds of flight simulator and aviation videos. In today's video, I want to discuss how to improve your landings in Flight Simulator. I've been receiving a lot of messages and videos from viewers who want to understand why their landing technique is not working for them. So I've taken a few of the more popular bad landing techniques, and today I want to discuss why they're bad and also offer some possible solutions to these major landing problems. I should also mention that the aircraft being used throughout this video is an Airbus A300. It is freeware, and you can download it by following the link in the subbar. It'll take you to a webpage that has more information about the download locations and the exact file names. In this first example, I'll be taking a look at the rapid descent approach for landing. I really wouldn't call this a technique. I would more likely call this an error in pilot judgment. Watch the speed up on the top part of the video page right now. It's jumping between 138 to 142 knots. The aircraft is rapidly descending towards the ground, and we all know that we need to correct this problem immediately. So you pull back on the stick, the nose goes up, and the pilot needs to apply power to the engines. So you could apply either full throttle if you wanted to go around, or you could apply less power to correct the situation. In this case, the pilot applies quite a bit of power to the engines, and the aircraft gains altitude rapidly. Then the pilot decides that he still wants to land, pulls back on the power, back to idle, or near that, and the aircraft's nose is forced down towards the runway to allow the aircraft to reach the touchdown point. So if you ever find yourself in a rapid descent approach towards a runway, and the only way to correct the situation is to apply quite a bit of power to the engines, you should really consider just going around. It's not wise to apply so much power when you're so close to the runway and then have to make a pretty much nose down correction to get the aircraft to land where you want on the runway. It's just not a smart way to do it. So again, try to avoid this situation. The next technique I want to show is the no flaps landing attempt. For some reason, I don't know why, but there's a lot of people out there who believe that landing without flaps will offer you a smoother landing, and it's not exactly true. Take a look at the speed first of all. We're almost twice the speed of the previous landing technique. And you really don't want to be over 160 knots on landing. That's pretty high. For most aircraft of this size, between 140 to 160-ish is where you want to be, depending on the weather. And we do have severe weather with very strong headwinds, so we can have some variance there. But 276 is way too high. And as the aircraft comes in here, we're going to try to pull back just slightly on the stick. And the aircraft bounces a bit or has a pretty rough landing. And even though if I'm trying to apply full brakes and reverse thrust and put up all the spoilers and everything you can imagine, the aircraft is going to have a really rough ride down this runway, which is also wet. This is not realistic by any means. Most aircraft out there would probably skid off the runway. This next technique is the low approach and the near crash. This is very frequent in some videos here on YouTube. What you're seeing right now is an aircraft with a nose up, and it pretty much looks like a flare while the aircraft is now nowhere near the runway. You want to avoid this. Remember when I said earlier that you should use a proper glide towards the runway. I should cover that in an upcoming video. But right now you're seeing the aircraft is so close to the ground, the nose is coming up more and more, and the only way to correct this is to apply full power. And what I want you to remember from this example here is that when you're on approach, you should not have the nose up at this angle. Simply is not needed. Also, if you find yourself this close to the ground on approach, you should really go around. It's not going to offer you good or realistic or believable landing technique. And I think a lot of you are just looking to add believability to your videos or just to your day-to-day flight simulator use. So again, this technique is bad because you should never flare the aircraft's nose at that angle when you're not over the runway and you're way too close to buildings and other debris and obstacles on the ground. Before I close out this video, I want to remind you that you should always consider other options when on approach for landing. This includes going around. For example, perhaps the aircraft is a bit high in approach, or you don't have enough time to correct an issue with alignment with the runway. You can decide to go around. Lift the landing gear of the aircraft, apply power to the engines, and pull back on the stick. Also, contact air traffic control if you are using that, and they can help guide you around the airport and instruct you on how to line up for your next approach for landing. I hope you guys found this video useful and you can improve your landing techniques by avoiding some of the situations seen in this video. Remember, a lot of these examples were what you should not do. You should not end up low on approach or nearly crashing. You should use proper glide slope. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you guys soon.